Three, two, one. It's Sunday, very early in the morning. I'm watching Fox News and I'm drinking my coffee. And Maria Bartiromo, she's about to come on the airways real quick. Fox News for the last 2 weeks have pretty much been bullying the viewers who are not working to get their butts back to work. But what's funny is now they've gotten other people on board, like governors. I call them political actors. They go on Fox News and then they scream about what they're complaining about, so they think they can get something done. I want to say that the governor's rejecting the congressional benefits. I don't even think that's even legal. Congress voted for those measures, and the Senate voted, and it was signed by the President of the United States. And I don't see the legalities of how a governor could come and interfere with something that Congress has already appropriated. Like it or not, I want to know, I heard Fox News during the week talk about these unemployment benefits, and I'm aware that the $300 is what they're giving. I want to know who's giving $500 on top of $300, which equals $800, if that's even true. Because according to my news, there is not any state giving an $800 a week unemployment benefit. It's $300. It's not $800. There might be a $200 on top of the $300 for either a couple or if you're in a disability situation, but I'm not aware that there is an $800. And Fox News, you guys have been, I would say, telling a fib that when you say 500 on top of 300, it's not true. Stop bullying the American people to go back to work when those people have been working, getting removed because the COVID restrictions, on and off by the restrictions last year. The government owes those workers that money, like it or not, and they should give them more money. What they should have done was give them a bonus on their returns versus the unemployment benefits, but nobody has any ideas on how to solve any issue. It's just a bunch of crack, in my opinion. I had to put those videos that I just did because I put them private versus public, not because I'm expecting hate reactions, but because I don't want to let people know who I voted for last time. And it was something I said in that last video that kind of ruined the video by saying who I voted for. This is madness. We don't have anywhere to get any news. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look for the news online and see what's going on in the world, because I just sat there for 3 hours and got no news. I get the news from Israel, from the lady who's working under that wing, but the other building got destroyed. In my last video, I predicted that they were going to come after journalists, and within 1 or 2 days of me doing that video, that building came down yesterday, the AP building, whether it was used for what they said it was used or not. I predicted that. I'm going to have to remove my videos because I'm either going to use them for publication purposes, but I don't want my current news work that I'm doing interfering with my editorials. But Fox, you guys need to be a little more honest. I'm seeing that House GOP urges states to reject the federal unemployment benefits. Now, this is starting to become an issue because Fox is pretty much making the House GOP do this because of all the guests that they're putting on, complaining that they can't get workers. It's not true that the $300 has nothing to do with it. If there is somebody paying $800, well, I'll give it to you guys. If there are states paying $800, that will have people not want to work. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no 500 on top of the 300. That's just not true. It's 300 and that's it. If it was $800 and you're making $800 working at, say, the 40 hours at $20 an hour, you're losing so much of that money in your check from your taxes. No one's talked about that. No one's talked about maybe the payroll taxes should be lowered, but they're so high that the workers know that on the 2-week pay period that the government's taking about 30 to 33 to 35% of their check. That's one reason why people don't like to work, because they're taking so much out of the paycheck. I'm going to leave the take right there. You guys didn't talk about the Medicare requirements. You didn't talk about the Medicare for All idea that they've been talking about and how to solve that issue by simply boosting the number to qualify by $1,000. No one in the media has the ability to actually put a report together, an idea, a publication, print it, and actually make it difference to where actually something happens. You had all year last year to boost the Medicare number $1,000 so Medicare could be allowed for people in the middle class. Now what you do is you force people not to work that extra day because people don't want to lose their insurance. That's something that I have to deal with this month because the gas prices have increased. I've had to work more, so I've made more, but they won't let me deduct my gasoline. So I'm going to go over the number and I'm going to lose my health insurance. Not one broadcaster, not one journalist, not one writer, not one person in any newspaper, New York Times, LA Times, any big newspaper, small newspaper, have been able to talk about how to solve the Medicare issue and how it affects the job numbers from last Friday. Not one person was able to mention it. So Maria, I know you're number one and you got your own show and you're bullying people to come back to work, but you did not tell the full truth of why people are not wanting to work. And there's two other reasons that you didn't bring up. Housing, Medicare, the taxes on the checks. Everything that you guys say is the opposite of what's really going on out there. And it's just starting to be a drag watching and listening to the news, even Fox News. It's just such a drag, I mean, you copy the colors of your outfits on the hats that I'm wearing the day before, but you're not listening to the videos because you're either downloading the video or you're not listening to the video. So I just take them down. There's no reason, if you're not going to listen to the broadcast, I'm not begging you to. I just want you guys to get your facts right. I had to put those videos on private because you guys are just too sensitive about international issues. You're always going to be one-sided. So we're going to let this play out and allow the hate to let it work itself out. And if I wanted to, let me tell you something. If I really wanted to, I could let the hate circulate in more than one place and see how you people react and let the things continue without trying to solve the issues that I've been trying to work on, while the media just won't produce anything. They have no good ideas and they don't recruit writers to help them with ideas. They just say what they believe and they bully you to believe what they want you to believe. The $300 has nothing to do with the job numbers. Stop bullying people to come back to work when they don't want to, or Congress has already appropriated that money. The governors and the GOP House people that didn't vote for that bill do not have the right to interfere with the bill that Congress already put into law. Congress and the House and Senate and the president signed it. And this is coming from someone that's worked the entire time I couldn't even get the benefit when I applied because there was no human being in the department to respond to my request. I get a no reply email. I get no one on the telephone. I'm not sure if they're picking and choosing who they want to give the benefit to when this first happened. So when you're saying people aren't going back to work because they're collecting money to stay home, it's not true. No one's going to stay home for just $300 a week. Now, if someone is making $500 on top of the $300, then why are they making $800? And how is that possible? But as far as I'm concerned, there is no state paying any unemployment person $800 a week. The only way a person is going to make a high number on his unemployment insurance is if he already has put in, because he's worked 5 or 10 or 20 years without ever filing unemployment, then that money is his and he's entitled to that money for as long as that money's there. And no congressional leader in the House or governor has the right to disrupt that person's unemployment insurance if he's already paid into that. So if there are people that are collecting one benefit and the $300 benefit, it's because they've worked and put into that benefit and that they're entitled to that benefit. So I don't understand this, Maria, bullying people to come back to work when people were constantly going back and forth to work last year and then being sent home while Congress was giving those companies money to keep their workers. Some did, some did not. The whole way you guys managed the pandemic and the money, the reason why they took so much advantage of the money and spend so much money, because there wasn't one broadcaster, one journalist, or one reporter in any newspaper that had an actual idea on how to solve any one issue. Not any single issue. When you see Lara Trump bragging about the former president and then the CDC not being honest, this is something I talked about in my last video, that the former president, when he directed his team to slow down testing in the beginning of the pandemic, was a ground for impeachment for breaching trust, gave all the other government agencies the reason to want to lie or be dishonest to the American people, like the CDC and the masks going from one day to another. It's the reason from the president, who is the first person to show other government agencies that it was okay to lie. So when you guys say how great he was, there's always something you guys seem to forget when it comes to the former president, that he did make some mistakes, such as when you say America first and we were not involved in any conflict. Well, I've been reading about how strong Russia has gotten during the Trump administration when they didn't have the money to produce those kinds of weapons. And let me tell you something, from a country that has an economy the size of Texas, in the 3 years or 4 years under the Trump administration, Russia has built some serious supersonic weapons, missiles, and capability that is now a national security situation that the former president left unchecked during the entire 4 years of that administration. Israel, the former president handing over Jerusalem to Israel to be their capital. This is my last take that I have in my last take. I'm going to bring it on this take real quick. Giving the Golan Heights to Israel. The Golan Heights was Syria country while they're going through a revolution and a civil war and new elections. It wasn't the president's to give. And one of the reasons why this conflict is starting is because they're annexing houses in eastern Jerusalem to build over Palestinian areas. So that when you say that the president created peace in the Middle East, He's half responsible for what's occurring right now because of those two moves. He invited conflict. He had nothing to back it up. And our allies, it seems that anytime they're in conflict, they are very quick to come down here, influence our politics, influence our press, and then it goes from America first to Israel first to America second. And I'm just questioning, last year, when this pandemic first started, who's really in charge of the Trump administration? And I'm just curious of how that whole phenomenon came about. I'm not going to talk about it in this take. Right now, this take is strictly about who's getting $500 on top of the $300, and they're not explaining the job market, why it's the way it is. They're just bullying people to come back to work. I'm going to leave the take right here. GOP House members do not have the right, or the governors do not have the right to not accept those benefits that were already appropriated by Congress in both houses and signed by the president. Stop bullying the American people to come back to work if they don't want to come back to work. We're not slaves. I'm sick and tired of you guys telling us what to do and what to think and what to say. I'm going to go look for the news right now because I got absolutely no news. That's a pretty much, I guess the wording is, it's a show. I like when you're on the show, Carly. I like the orange today. Carly, you guys do a great job, but you need to work on putting more news together. So now Maria's going to go on and talk about bullying everybody. And I love Maria. She's great. About coming back to work. Not talk about housing, not talk about Medicare, not talk about those payroll checks. Why there's so much taxes are coming out of those checks. And if there's anything they could do about lowering payroll taxes. They've never one time created a situation where an idea is a solved crisis. Never do you hear, well, why don't we pay everybody every week instead of every 2 weeks to give the people more money? No ideas. People don't want to go to work because there's a lot of ideas that you guys just don't know because you're not poor. You know, you could sit there and be rich all you want. But if you're going to be rich and spoiled and snotty, don't belittle people that are not as rich as you. Don't tell them to do something when they don't want to do it or don't have to do it. It's just getting old, all of this. Being forced to vaccinate when you don't have to. Kids being forced to vaccinate just to go to school when they don't have to. It's just getting absurd. And I'm sitting here criticizing the right. I would have a field day criticizing the left. But without any backup, you guys got the whole market all to yourselves. So do what you're doing. Do the media versus the media, even though it's my idea, both sides, complaining about the other. But the left, I don't know what you guys are doing. I mean, what you guys are saying on the left is just not true. None of it. But what you guys are saying on the right, you can't reverse something that's already voted into law. I don't know what you're trying to do. House GOP elect Stefanik is now the conference chairperson. She's the one that just replaced Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney got the boot. She's going to be on TV right now. See, the Trump thing is not going away. And they're just going to smear it in our face. The Republicans are just like Hamas. It's take it or leave it. The Republicans are just like Israel. America first? No, it's Israel first, America second. Don't kid yourselves, please. Ask them to govern better and to solve the crisis and to make peace. How do you make peace? Well, you're in charge of Eastern Jerusalem. Why do you have to annex the whole East and kick those people out of the area? You already have the area. No, you got to smear it in their face. Oh, we already got it. Smear it in the face. That's what is going on here. It doesn't matter what country it is. You're going to always tell the wrong side. I got to go get the news from another source because I'm just sitting here wasting my time watching this. It's just, to me, it's self political entertainment.